Rowdy Gaines began swimming as a junior in high school and quickly gained the attention of the Auburn coaching staff.
Well, to grow up in Florida, you have to know how to swim to survive. So I grew up swimming all my life, but I just never swam competitively until I got to high school. It was something that we just did for fun. It was a recreational sport. So by the time I got to high school, I was very active. I love sports, so I tried out for 5 different sports. I tried out for football, baseball, basketball, golf, and tennis, and I flunked in all of them. I mean, I didn't make the team in any of them. But I never gave up, you know, and swimming was sort of next in line. It wasn't something that I had dreams about going to the Olympics in. I just wanted to be successful in something. I wanted to be able to alleviate some pressure off my parents as far as college. And I had this grand vision of trying to get a scholarship somewhere. And swimming was it. Well, a couple of factors that really determined that Auburn was the place for me. One was the coach at the time. Eddie Reese was the coach that recruited me my freshman year. And a wonderful man, and still is. Even though he's coaching at a rival school now, he's still a great guy and a great program, and he's one of the best coaches in the world. But the other thing, and really the main thing, was Auburn itself. The minute I landed on the Auburn campus for my recruiting trip, I felt at home. I grew up in a small town, Winter Haven, Florida, out in the country. And I knew that when I got here, it just felt like a college town, that everything revolved around the university. It felt very much like a family atmosphere. That was something that I was really looking for in a school. And that was not only true for the swim team, but also the college and the community itself. It was all 3 of those. It wasn't just the team. I really felt like that with the university and the community.
The United States boycott of the Olympics in 1980 prolonged Gaines's dream of representing his country on the biggest stage.
The Olympics is the pinnacle of success for us, and we don't have a Super Bowl World Series. We don't have a Sugar Bowl. If Auburn misses making the national championship football one year, they always have the next year to try to hang their hat on. And for us, it's a 4-year journey. And to have that taken away meant my journey turned from a 4-year into an 8-year journey, which made it really difficult. It made it very challenging because an athlete's life can come and go in a span of 4 years. But you know, my goal was to be an Olympian, and I wanted to be more than an Olympian. I wanted to be able to say that I could go to an Olympic Games and actually compete for my country. So to have 1980 was something that was tough for me, but it was a lot tougher for so many other athletes. There were 363 athletes that didn't make it in 76, that didn't make it in 84, but made it in 80. So those are the ghost Olympians, I call them, and those are the ones that I really feel bad for. I had my day in the sun. I had 1984. It was really hard to know that I had another 4-year journey ahead of me because I graduated college in 81, so I knew 3 of those years was going to be out of college. And back then, we didn't have money in our sport. There was no such thing as professional swimming. In fact, you weren't even allowed to take money back then. So I literally worked as a night clerk in a hotel for about 2.5 years to support myself. I lived off a lot of macaroni and cheese and the cheapest breakfast cereal I could find. But you know, it was kind of fun being in the trenches like that. It kind of toughened you up and made you appreciate the finer things in life. And it certainly has made my life, I wouldn't say easier, but sort of kept it in perspective now because I know what a day's hard work means.
In 1984, Gaines was towards the end of his career, but he found the drive to qualify and succeed at the Los Angeles Games.
Well, 84 I was hanging on by the skin of my teeth in 84, man. I was at the end of my rope because I was at the tail end of my career, believe it or not. In fact, when I won, I was the 3rd oldest swimmer in history to win a gold medal up to that point. And now the average age on the Olympic team is probably going to be 25. So it was very much a young man's sport back then. And the trials was very tough because I had the world record going in the 200 and the 100. And I didn't even make the team in the 200, which was the first event. I ended up getting 7th, which was a bitter disappointment, obviously. But it was kind of a blessing because I ended up making the 100. And the trials is such an intense meet. I will say that trials, along with NCAA, is the most intense meet in a swimmer's career, even more intense than the Olympic Games because it's so hard to make our Olympic team. Well, when I finally made it, there was only one word that came into my mind over and over and over and over again was relief. It was a huge relief to finally know that I was going to be able to go to an Olympic Games and actually swim in it and participate in it and walk out in the opening ceremonies and do what an Olympian is supposed to do. So it was because it was such a huge relief, I think for me, it took a lot of pressure off. Because I only got second at my trials. They take the top two now. So very few people remember who got second at an Olympic trials. But I ended up getting second, and I wasn't the favorite in '84, so a lot of the pressure was kind of off. And once I made the team, it was really all downhill after that. Well, I remember being home. It's like playing a Super Bowl at home. When you go to Los Angeles, California, and swim in Olympic Games, it's like competing in the highest level in your hometown. Imagine Auburn playing for the national championship in Auburn. That's what it was like for me. And to do that in my home country was pretty special. You know, my parents got to come, and Los Angeles did a great job. It was an awesome Olympics. It had been 8 years since we had an Olympic Games, and it was during the Reagan era, so patriotism was at an all-time high. The Soviet Union was still sort of the evil empire, and for us it was really cool to be swimming for the USA.
Gaines' sacrifice paid off as he won 3 gold medals that made his commitment to the sport well worth it.
I think the thing that really sticks out to me the most is probably the dedication, the commitment that it took to reach those games. You know, in 8 years, I swam about the circumference of the globe at the equator. I swam over 20,000 miles. The circumference of the globe is 24,000. So I swam around the world to swim a race that lasted for me about 49 seconds. But for me, every single lap, every single mile that I swam was worth it because of the journey. It wasn't so much the end product, but for me, it was about the process. And I think that helped me grow from a boy to a man. Certainly going to school at Auburn, I've always said this, helped me grow from a boy to a man. I learned to be responsible. I learned the word dedication and commitment and teamwork and setting goals. I learned all of those when I went to school here. But I think that 8-year journey really taught me about what it took to be good at anything that you have a high value, that you set a high value on.